Hazard identification and risk control is a highly effective method of keeping our workplace safe. A hazard is a condition or situation that exists within the working environment which could result in physical harm, injury, and/or damage. Examples of workplace hazards include frayed electrical cords, which could cause an electrical shock, cartons stacked precariously, noisy machinery, uneven or slippery floors. We have a hazard management program which involves hazard identification, assessment, and implementation of control measures. In other words, spot the hazard, assess the risk, and make the changes. An important component of this program is the consultation between our workers who are exposed to the hazards and officers from the area concerned. As a worker, you'll form an integral part of this process. The general health and safety of our workplace relies on every single one of us to remain vigilant for hazards and communicate any concerns to the appropriate staff member. Once a hazard has been identified, most risk control plans are made up from a number of elements from what is commonly referred to as the hierarchy of controls. Many hazards will be able to be controlled immediately and may involve little or no cost. However, some hazards will only be fixed through significant changes to the way you do the work, the equipment, or substance you use or layout of the workplace. When you can't control all the hazards straight away, you need to decide on which one to deal with first. Deciding which hazards are the most serious will involve assessing the risks associated with the hazards. Where possible, controls should focus on making the workplace safe. Control measures which require considerable financial investment will obviously require time, planning, and budget allocation. In this case, a jointly agreed program might incorporate short-term or interim control measures and longer-term engineering or substitution control measures. If you're stuck and not sure about how to control a certain risk, use the hierarchy of controls. The best form of control is to eliminate the hazard. If you can't do this, work your way down the hierarchy. Can the practice or the hazardous substance be substituted with a less hazardous process? If that's not practical, can the hazard be isolated by separating it from people? For example, could the area be fenced off or could barriers be erected? If the hazard cannot be eliminated, substituted, or isolated, an engineering control is the next preferred option. This could mean installing a guard or introducing remote stop and start buttons. Next on the hierarchy of controls is administrative controls. This could include regular rest breaks for keyboard operators or reduced exposure to hazards by rotating jobs. Extra supervision and training, the introduction of written procedures can all be effective administrative controls. Personal protective equipment should be considered only when other control measures are not practical, as PPE is the least effective way of dealing with hazards. If possible, use PPE until a better and safer way of doing things can be found, or the hazard can be eliminated. The provision of PPE must be accompanied by training of its proper use, fitting, cleaning, and maintenance. The general rule is, the higher in the hierarchy, the better the control. It is essential that our hazard management program is constantly monitored and evaluated. This will not only ensure that the controls we've implemented are working, but will provide valuable feedback on the effectiveness of our program. Whilst on site, if you see, hear or smell anything odd, take note. If you think it could be a hazard, tell someone.